What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and this is my brutally honest review for Deathloop. It seems like people have been very hungry for that next big PlayStation 5 exclusive, a project that's going to push this hardware to impress and amaze us, and this time-twisting adventure, it's certainly close to that. What we have here today, this is a daring project. It's a game that clearly wants to try and just break the rules and do stuff that's very new and different. In many ways, it exceeds at what it's trying to do. It just has some issues. Alright, so that being said, let's dive deep and look at the goods and the bads of this very unique journey. Now in Deathloop, we're playing as a man named Colt. He's an assassin who wakes up on this beach of this very weird island with a very strange problem to it. This place is called Blackreef. Now, every single day at exactly midnight, Blackreef resets. It goes to this second every morning. Live or die, if you decide to stay up partying or fighting or no matter what you do, at midnight, the entire day is going to reset back to this millisecond. Now, everybody on the island doesn't seem to notice. These people are completely locked within the time loop. They're not creating new memories. So what's happening is everybody keeps hanging out, everybody keeps repeating the same actions again and again. Only Colt seems to be immune to these effects. He's the only person who's able to realize that this is a gigantic trap, that he is stuck on this island and can't seem to escape. Well, I guess there is one other person who does notice this time loop, and that is the head of security of this glitchy paradise. Her name is Juliana. Now this woman is somebody that you absolutely do not want to mess with, because she has a singular mission, which is to protect the loop, to make sure that everything exists at midnight so things can be reset. With all the chaos and carnage, with all the freaking things you try and do, Juliana just needs to ensure that Blackreef keeps running. If that happens, then technically she wins. So that brings us to the main goal of Deathloop, the entire point of this game and your primary motivation. Across this island, there are these 8 crazy scientists. They're people that have these different special talents, things like a queen of art, or somebody like the god of storytelling, or just a classic doctor trying to push the boundaries of their studies. But as Colt, if you can track down and kill each of these 8 targets before midnight, then the loop can finally be shattered and you're allowed to leave. Now, how are you going to do this? This is the gigantic question at the center of Deathloop. At the very beginning, this game is just impossibly overwhelming at times, because it is a very competent first-person shooter with some heavy stealth mechanics, but you kind of have to spend a lot of time just doing trial and error, going different directions, watching people, trying to figure out how it is you can kill so many different, incredibly well-guarded targets in just a couple short hours. Now, here's the main crux of it. While you're playing this game, there is a lot of freedom to it. How you want to try and explore, which parts of the map you want to go to first, it's all about just seeing what Blackreef has to offer. But everybody has been instructed to kill you on sight. If you get spotted by these crazy partygoers, they're probably going to pick up some knives and guns and try and end you very, very quick. And when you die, you're going to wake up back on that very cursed beach once again. Now, pretty shortly into the game, they actually make things quite a bit easier. You get this ability called Reprise, which essentially lets you die 2 extra deaths per attempt. No matter what, if you die 3 times now, you're still going to reset the entire day. So being careful, being out of sight, and making sure you're vigilant is the key to success. But additionally, let's talk magic. Truly the most important aspect of escaping this terrible puzzle that you're stuck in is beyond just the ability to aim and pull off great headshots, or even the ability to sneak across rooftops and not be seen. In my opinion, the most important aspect of Deathloop is the equipment we carry. So this does have a loot system. Whenever you kill people, they're going to drop all of their items, so you can get a chance to constantly find better and more powerful guns to just build into your arsenal. But there is this interesting rarity system. So things can initially have just a couple benefits, like a standard white shotgun is not going to do a ton of damage, but if you find something that's blue rarity or purple rarity, it's going to have extra added benefits, extra special things that can make it where it'll poison people or sometimes just reload even quicker. It also has extra customization slots. During the course of this game, you can find these things called weapon slot mods or character slot mods that let you basically give yourself extra abilities, like the fact that you can automatically heal faster. You can make yourself more invisible in general, so people actually detect you at a slower rate. Or something I personally like is piercing bullets. I got a shotgun very early on in the game, which is why you're going to see it in a bunch of this gameplay, that made it where each individual shot that I fire off actually goes and blows a freaking hole through my targets to hit each person behind them. It is glorious and makes those times where you're stuck in a crowded mansion and it's got tons of people trying to rip you apart, it's nice to just be able to knock them over like bowling pins. I love the customization in this, but I know what you're probably thinking. DreamcastGuy, why would you spend so much time trying to build out this arsenal if the second you get shot one too many times or you fall over dead, it's all going to get reset? Well, this brings me to perhaps the most interesting system, and part of the thing that makes this way more playable, which is Residium. There are these tiny little just like glowing items you're going to see during the course of your exploration. Now, each day, these are randomized. They end up in different spots, but if you find them, you can soak up this energy called Residium, which lets you preserve items in time. Yes, you heard me correctly. If you decide to play this carefully, if you explore the maps, you can actually keep weapons forever. You can preserve them in the timeline, which means that when I actually decked out this shotgun to be an absolute killing machine, I could save it in time and use it again and again and again. Now, this goes for the magic as well. I've mentioned Reprise already, which lets you die and come back multiple times, but there's actually quite a bit of different special abilities that can be found as you take down these different scientists. Now, the scientists have very different specialities, as we mentioned before, but they also have different magic abilities, which are called slabs. Now, these aren't technically magic, it's kind of like nanomachines that give you special powers, but these let you do things like bind together people's souls, so if one person gets hit, everybody takes damage. There's one that lets you teleport a short distance, which I personally enjoyed a lot, or even one that makes it where you can become invisible for 5 seconds at a time. Now, these completely change the nature of the game, and by saving these in the timeline, they really do give you a lot of extra things in your toolkits that help you survive the worst day ever. Now, we need to talk about two gigantic features that, in my opinion, go very hand in hand as to whether you're going to love this game or completely hate it, and it's how time progresses, and we need to talk about the multiplayer. So essentially, when you're playing this game, it's broken down into 4 separate maps. There's these 4 gigantic areas that you can explore, which is like a beachfront area, a snowy mountaintop. There are different quadrants of this island itself. Now, when you go there, it will straight up tell you if there's a target here, what they're trying to do, and what you should try and accomplish. There's a series of major quests that help you try and manipulate people to be in the right place at the right time. Now, I don't want to do any spoilers, but let's just say that you discover like 2 of the characters are secretly dating. Then you could use this information to try and make sure that while they're having their secret morning coffee, you can go up there and blast 2 of them at once, or something like if you find out that somebody's trying to experiment with, I don't know, lava or something, perhaps you can make it so they get burned in the process. Every day, your biggest weapon is knowledge. If you figure out that like a safe has the combination 2244, well then that's always going to be the safe combination. A lot of times, once you figure out how a solution is done, you thankfully do not have to repeat it. Once you figure out the best path through a day, it's actually pretty easy to make it through it. But again, it's all about those 4 separate quadrants. During the course of the day, there's 4 times a day. There's morning, noon, afternoon, and evening. Every single attempt to beat this game is basically this gigantic journey to try and figure out the best and most optimal way to take down each of these targets, and sometimes this requires quite a bit of trial and error. There's certainly a correct solution at times. There's definitely a very efficient path that can let you do it, but one of the biggest flaws of Deathloop is that at times I feel like it wants you to do something very narrow and specific in order to progress, and if you screw up, it can break that entire day. Like at one point I needed to find a battery to charge up and open up a door, but I accidentally dropped the battery down a hole. I spent the next 20 minutes of my time searching around this gigantic factory looking for a replacement battery so I could finish off this task, but I couldn't do it, which meant that I had to purposely die, wake up back on that beach, and start the entire day again so that I could survive up to that moment, but this time solve the puzzle correctly. The trial and error of this, at times, it just becomes a tiny bit grating when you make a small mistake and screw over an entire day's worth of work, but that's kind of the price you pay when it comes to a time loop journey. Okay, so let's just throw out a hypothetical. Say that you're very, very good at the game itself, you're not going to make any crazy mistakes, but you can still have a run completely screwed up by Juliana. Now this is the multiplayer aspect of the game. Occasionally, Juliana, since she is a master assassin in her own right, she loves trying to hunt you down. In fact, she specifically states she has already killed you thousands of times over. She knows where you're at, what you're doing, and everything about your every single motion, and she's going to enjoy blasting you with her sniper rifle. Now, Juliana, she has a lot of the abilities you have. She can use magic, she can pick up guns, she can just completely ruin your day, and I mean that literally. Like, if you get blasted by Juliana, then congratulations, you're still going to be waking up back on that fateful beach. Now, a lot of times the story will just throw a computer-controlled version of Juliana at you. It's basically just an NPC Juliana who talks trash and tries to blast you. But other players, invaders, can actually join your game as Juliana. Now this is fun, but sometimes just incredibly frustrating. If you have already been playing hours for a particular attempt, you've managed to explore entire maps, you've beefed yourself up, you have all the freaking Residium to make sure that you are going to preserve each piece of magic, and then suddenly you get shot in the back of the head, it can be incredibly frustrating. Now, I decided to test this out very thoroughly with my friend Nate the Hate. Nate decided to play as Juliana, and one time he straight up waited till I got into a gigantic firefight with like 50 of these random dudes, and then he decided to ambush me at that exact second. There is no way I could fight back. I was completely screwed over by this. Now, additionally, what makes this extra difficult is that you have to defeat Juliana. She locks the entire map. Now, there is a benefit to this. If you kill Juliana, it recharges your reprise ability, which basically means you get your 3 mini lives back. It makes it where if you already died 2 times during a particular run and then you killed Juliana, well, you get all those extra lives back. So there is definitely a methodology where you could probably cheese this. You could probably have a friend purposely invade your game and let you shoot them in the head to get an instant recharge of all of your lives. It's an interesting mechanic. I can't completely hate on it, but it does feel a bit broken at times because she does just have such an advantage, such a freaking leg up. But I guess technically this is her island. When you decide to protect the loop instead of breaking the loop, which is what they call the Juliana game mode, you actually get a separate story with her. It has these little cutscenes and stuff that show just kind of how much she enjoys her job. The fact that she gets to hunt you down for all eternity is not just fun for her, it seems to level her up. She has her own experience bar and trophies and stuff, which is a very unique aspect of it. This multiplayer, like on its own, it's not for everybody, but I feel like it really kind of highlights what makes Deathloop the most fun and unique. It just comes to the fact that this game is at times surprisingly unpredictable. The fact that this day is stuck on repeats, like a DVD that's constantly stuck playing itself again and again for all eternity. It's interesting that every single individual action does not change, but somehow your journey through it does keep pivoting and differentiating itself from the previous attempt. I also really appreciate the smaller details, like the fact that this art is this 1960s stucco. It makes it where everything is overly bright and colorful. It has this blown out, forced happiness to it that really, really works when you look at the chaos and bloodshed happening all around it. I think the major problem I have with Deathloop is that at times, doing these circumstances again and again, there is a forced amount of repetition in this that does become stale over time. Even the most exciting kills, even the times where you manage to drop a very, very difficult target, you're probably going to have to do it again and again and again. And it feels sometimes like you're trying to play a board game and you roll a perfect 6 and you manage to have everybody cheer like, yay, you won the board game. But then time loops and you roll the dice again and you get that 6 again, experiencing the highest highs or the lowest lows. But on a time loop, it eventually kind of just dulls that effect. No matter how exciting a particular moment is, whether it's in a board game or in real life, it's going to become stale once you experience 10 or 20 or 100 times over, which this game does unfortunately make you do. Deathloop is a very good game. It has an incredible amount of polish, it's got some very, very unique mechanics, and honestly, I do hope it's something that people are talking about for years to come. But as it stands, just be aware that you're going to be seeing these city streets again and again until you eventually beat it or quit the game. Okay, so we've heard some good and some bad, but let's go over the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Deathloop on the PlayStation 5 an 8.5 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a gigantic thumbs up because it seriously does help out to get a video to have a couple thousand likes. Please also do me a favor, subscribe if you haven't already, but of course do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Man, thanks to Bethesda for the early review code. I've played a lot of this game over the course of the weekend, and I did every quest in it. Woo boy, am I death-looped out of my brains. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.